Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I hope everybody's having a fabulous Monday morning so far. So today is kind of a two-part video. I don't really normally like to do a two-part video, but because they are somewhat related, these two topics, I did decide to do this. And I partly because I came across a video on another channel, which I can't stand, and I really feel like they're kind of jumping the shark, if you understand what that means. If you don't, look up Happy Days Jumping the Shark, right? So they were, this channel a lot of times, exposing brokers, exposing the truth about brokers, but there's no physical evidence, there's no anything, right? So I thought that maybe we would kind of get to the heart of it based on this interview that they were doing. This particular driver was complaining about, carriers with new authority, not, getting this, maybe the same rates as someone with, who's been established in the industry. Okay, well, let's break this down. New authority, you haven't established yourself. Just like I've said, just like a new broker, you're the new kid on the block, right? Nobody knows you, nobody trusts you. And when you start to look at things like the rampant freight fraud that's going on in the industry, right? That's all a factor. Not saying that you are, a double broker or a scammer or somebody's going to hold a load hostage or, anything like that. But you have to establish yourself the same as anybody else. Okay. What equipment type are you running? Okay. Are you open deck? Are you running oversized? Are you running dry van? Are you running reefer? Right. All of this has, dictates on rates. Obviously, if you're running dry van and you're hauling a load of paper, you're not going to get the same rate as someone with a reefer holding or hauling a load of, I don't know, frozen ice cream. Okay. What lanes are you running? Right? What's your outbound rate versus your inbound rate? Now, they were saying that they got a very good rate outbound, but the rates back were garbage. Okay. Well, if you've run to Florida, for instance, there's other states as well, but historically, if you run into Florida, you're going to normally get a decent rate going in because rates coming out are absolute garbage, right? You're going to deadhead out, or you're going to what I like to refer to as puddle jumping out. You're going to take a couple of real short runs and work your way out till you get to like South Carolina or Georgia or something, right? What commodity are you hauling, right? Big difference between a load of lumber and a load of gold bullion, okay? I'm not going to elaborate on that any further. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Who's the shipper? Some shippers are just plain cheap, right? I've worked with some of these shippers. I've tried to convince them that, hey, this is the current market rate, and market rate can be $3 a mile. They still want to pay $1.50, right? I don't post those loads. I don't reach out to my, carrier network. I just don't, right? Because they're going to go 10. Seriously, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to contribute to, their success in that way, right? There's other ways that I can help my shipper be successful and my carriers being successful by pimping out their cheap freight, like that on a constant and regular basis isn't doing anybody any good. Not to mention, I'm not going to make anything on the load either, right? So why would I do it, right? If I'm going to work for $20, and spend all day trying to convince a carrier to move that load, how much did I really make, right? As a broker. Okay. Overcapacity right now, and we have been in an overcapacity. Now, granted, capacity has fallen off, as well as brokerages have been falling off. Okay. It happens. It always happens. Whenever we end up at an overcapacity, eventually, things shrink back down. You know, kind of a no-brainer. Look at what's going on with the economy, things like this, right? And then also when you're complaining about the rate for your, and I know that some of you consider this to be a dirty term, but your backhaul, right? What's capacity versus the available freight, right? If there's 100 trucks and 10 loads, what do you think happens to the freight rates? Anyone? Bueller? I'll wait. Put yourself in the position of those shippers, right? They're not dumb. They know. Okay? A lot of them are more educated than probably some of the brokers that they work with. Okay? And they were and in this interview, they were kind of going on about, we don't need brokers. We're going to get rid of brokers. We're going to build this platform where, no more brokers. Well, go ahead, pothead. Get after it. I beg you. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm here to be some reality for you. All right? Shippers will always need brokers. I know that this discussion comes up, but here's the thing. Most carriers don't focus on freight sales enough, right, to go after their direct shippers, or they don't have the fleet size, right, to I guess put a twinkle in the shipper's eye, like, oh yeah, I'll work with this carrier. Okay. And in fact, I've gotten emails during this downturn, in the market that we've had the last couple of years, that shippers have said, hey, don't hire anybody with a fleet size of less than 10. Okay. Just as an example. They will, and if you send them in, because they required me to send over their MC, driver info, all this stuff, and they do check when drivers show up. So if I gave them a different MC number, it said this is who's picking up, but I actually sent in, a different carrier, they're going to find out, right? So there's all of these factors that are involved. So to just strictly point the finger at brokers is absolutely absurd. Get an education, right? And I'm sure a lot of you will agree with me, and I'll probably get some nasty comments about this, but you have to look at the whole picture, not just what is immediately affecting you. So let me put this a different way. When the market rate drops, and you don't typically see a lot of brokers complaining that they're making 3 to 5% profit margins, right? Which a lot of them did. Majority of them did during the downturn in the market, right? They had to book more freight to keep their income up. They have bills to pay. They have families to take care of, to feed, right? Daycare, whatever. They all have expenses, same as you. This is why I always try to talk about building relationships and things. And obviously, this person was working off the spot market. Okay? Establish relationships. Either get direct shippers or work with specific brokers, right? Have that relationship, because I'm here to tell you, there's oftentimes that I've got drivers, hey, and the customer sends over a load. Yep, they can do it, but this is one of my longtime carriers, and oftentimes I'm able to get more because they've been such a reliable carrier to me in the past. That was more than finding a cheaper truck to my shipper. Right? Does that make sense? Did I say that right? I got a little. But the fact of the matter is that if you're playing out the spot market, it's especially when there's a downturn, it's almost a lose-lose, right? So stop pointing fingers at anybody but yourself, okay? And if you don't like the rate, don't take it. Don't take it. I see so many posts, comments. Oh, look at the rates. These damn brokers. Okay. Well, what was capacity like? How many loads were available? Are you sure it was the broker? Maybe it was the shipper. Maybe the broker's making $20. Until you know the whole picture, right? Don't go spewing off the mouth. But hey, if you want to go fight brokers and put all brokers out of business and spend all kinds of money on technology and things, have at it, boo-boo. Get after it. I beg you. I hope you do it. I hope you put me out of business. All right. The other side of this coin is how to win shippers' business for you carriers. Okay. So it's time to up your game, right? Shippers are getting savvy about procurement. You know, some of you that maybe have been in the industry for a little while, you know, gone are the days of shippers simply throwing out annual bids and picking the cheapest option, right? The shippers today are strategic and data driven, right? And carriers need to adapt, right? We always need to adapt. Your brokers are, okay? From bidding bots to market magic, right? How shippers are procurement pros. I almost got tongue tied again. I guess I did a little bit. Remember the good old days of predictable bidding schedules? Those are gone, right? Shippers are now like surfers, riding the waves of market changes. Okay. They use fancy tools like the new rate differential or NRD and spot premium ratio or SPR to understand market trends and time their bids perfectly. Okay. They're not just simply relying on, you know, what they're being told, all right, by their brokers or their carriers. All right. Not all lanes are created equal, right? Like I mentioned just earlier in this video. Why shippers segment their network? Okay. Shippers aren't throwing everything into one big bidding pot anymore. Okay. They're segmenting their freight, figuring out which lanes are consistent and high volume and which ones are sporadic and unpredictable. This way, they can tailor their procurement strategy for each lane. And I've experienced this, right? More and more and more lately with some of my newer shippers and even my existing shippers, right? Some of those that I've had long-standing relationships with, okay? The procurement powerhouse, dedicated, contract, and spot, okay? Just like having a toolbox with different wrenches, shippers have a portfolio of procurement options, right? Dedicated contracts are ideal for consistent lanes, while traditional contracts work well for predictable medium volume routes, right? And spot procurement comes in handy for those occasional low volume shipments, okay? Now, this is typical. This isn't across the board. Every single shipper is doing this, right? Just like not every broker is gouging and making, you know, 30% margins or something. All right. So don't take this as like a holy grail that every shipper is doing this, but it's becoming more and more the norm. Okay. So the key takeaway here is be an imaginative partner, right? Shippers are looking for more than just the cheapest truck. They value carriers who can be flexible, adaptable, and understand their specific needs. Okay. So carriers ditch the one-size-fits-all approach and get creative, okay? By offering solutions that cater to different lane types and volumes, you can become a valuable partner in the eyes of the new strategic shipper, right? And again, your brokers have been doing this, right? Brokers have been doing this. They're continuing to do this. They're constantly adapting, understanding their shippers' needs, right? So I hope that was a little bit insightful as far as, you know, gouging, you know, or exposing brokers, and then how you can also win, you know, your own direct shippers. If that's what you want to do, go for it, right? In fact, I haven't talked about this in a while, but I've actually had shippers that I had either recently started working with, you know, maybe a new transportation manager came in, or, you know, I was, you know, doing a cold call, warm call. And then after really kind of digging deep into their needs, rates, lanes, all of these types of things, they just weren't a good fit for me as a broker. However, I knew a carrier that I felt, you know, would probably be a good carrier for them directly, right? And I vouched for them. And I said, hey, unfortunately, I just don't think that I'm going to be a great fit, but I know a carrier, they've got the right size fleet, to meet your demands, right? They've been absolutely fabulous for us in the past. And I have a backhaul for them, right? To get them back here for you. Let me give them a call if you're open to it and try to set something up. And I've actually done that, right? And I know I'll probably get slandered by brokers for doing that, but that's all part of me. I felt keeping my relationship and being a bit of a problem solver, even though I didn't win that business. It went a long way with my carrier, right? And we went on to do tremendous amount of business. Their fleet size grew, right? We opened up some other lanes, with some newer other shippers, and they inevitably ended up, putting, once their fleet expanded, they ended up putting their trucks on those lanes and running those lanes for me as well, right? So inevitably, it was a win for me, right? It was, it was just something that I felt was, not a great fit for me, like I said. And it was, and again, this carrier had been fantastic with me in the past, and I just felt like it was a better fit for them than it was for me. So, anywho, again, I hope you guys found this insightful. If you don't want to berate me in the comments over this video and you would rather email me, give me a piece of your mind, right? Or if you need a tool or resource that I don't have listed below, email me. Like I said in previous videos, I do have other recommendations that I can provide for you. I just don't like to, spam the, or put an overabundance of, a bunch of links and things. These are just my top favorite ones that I have listed down below, right? And these are for carriers and for brokers. So that being said, I hope everybody's having a great start to their week. And as always, be kind to one another. Bye-bye now.